Hi diddly ho, Quarantinerinos! Today is day 13 of isolating for me, and you know what's great about already being crazy? I can't go nuts from doing this! Today I'll be demonstrating how to hand sew... Oh, there's the camera. Okay. So today I'll be demonstrating how to hand sew a mask. It won't withstand industrial washing, so that means it's only for personal use, not for giving to hospitals, clinics, or any other organizations, but it is a beginner project. So the supplies for hand sewing are fairly affordable and relatively easy to find online still. There are also Joann stores that are giving away things curbside for making masks, or you can check dollar stores or pharmacies for simple sewing supplies. So we've got our sewing shears here for cutting fabric. Make sure you're not using paper scissors, kitchen scissors, anything besides sewing scissors for cutting your fabric. Here we have some little snips for the thread. These are a lot better than the ones you'll get in the kits from dollar stores or pharmacies, so try to get specialized scissors if you can. Here we have our pins and Taylor's chalk in here. This kind of looks like cheese on camera, but it's not cheese, so don't eat that, please. Here we have some thread, needles in all different sizes, seam ripper, which we might or might not need. Let's hope we don't need it. Here I have some bias tape that's already double folded. Without a machine, you probably don't want to be sewing your own bias tape. This is the quilting square. You can also use a regular ruler or a tape measure, but this is going to be a little bit better. And here I have my 100% cotton fabric, which is what's recommended for sewing your own mask. And these are quilting type fabrics. Wait, hold on a second here. My Taylor's chalk. Now that we have our Taylor's chalk back, it's time to measure two rectangles, one on each piece of fabric, and they're both going to be 6.5 by 9 inches. So you draw that on with your Taylor's chalk. If you can't find any, you can also use a pen, Sharpie, anything of that sort for the same job. We're not exactly doing couture sewing here. This is just basic survival stuff. There's 6.5. And 9 inches. And take your sewing shears and cut that out. If you're more experienced, you can cut out multiple rectangles at the same time by having a few pieces of fabric on top of them. Here's the first piece of your mask. Now to cut the ties for the mask, we're just going to take our seam binding or bias tape and cut each piece to 15 inches. We need 4 ties for this mask. You can also use elastic, but I think the ties are a little bit more comfortable. It's not quite long enough, so we'll just save that for another project. This one's going to be a little bit mixed matched, but that's all right. On the machine you have a thing to help guide the seam allowance, but for this one I'm going to draw the seam allowance right onto the fabric for a guide. If you're experienced at sewing, you might be able to just eyeball it, but since this is a beginner project, let's go ahead and draw a 1/2 inch of seam allowance on each edge here. Make sure you have the right sides of your fabrics together. That means that the side that you want to see when you're finished is going towards the inside. Then we'll measure 5/8 of an inch here. Put the tie right there. Put this layer back down. And pin through all 3 layers. All right, make sure that your ties are all right in the middle and not getting caught anywhere on the edges except for the 4 spots where we've already pinned it. I'm going to put 2 needles perpendicular from the edges. This marks where the opening is going to be at the bottom of the mask or the top of the mask. Either way, it's all one big rectangle right now. The rest of the pins I'm putting parallel to the edges along that line that we drew. Make sure to match up your edges as you go. To cut the thread and measure it, you just take the end between your thumb and forefinger, pull your spool of thread down to where your elbow is, and that's about where you should cut your thread. Make sure to wash your hands after doing this project. So close the thumb over the thread, wrap the thread around your forefinger once or twice, then roll it like this off the edge of your finger, and use your thumbnail and fingernail to pull the knot all the way down to the end so it looks like this. There's no real easy way to thread the needle, it's just a matter of practice makes perfect, but it does help to trim the end a little bit to get it extra smooth and to get the end just a little bit damp. We're going to put this together using a simple running stitch, which means the needle goes through to the other side and back up here. Try to get the stitches as even as you can, and you can do a few of these at the same time. Up, down, up. Get through all the layers of fabric. There should be 2 layers there.